In my last video, I walked you through how to set up a WordPress website with Elementor. Elementor is a page builder. It's a free plugin you can download and install to your website. And I built this page for you guys in the last video, which I will link somewhere around this video so you can go and watch it. So this is a real estate example page that I made for a neighborhood in South Bend for my real estate business. I work part-time as a licensed real estate agent in the area to make some extra money while I do investment properties and while I teach online for marketing and business. So this website page, I showed you exactly how I built it using text boxes, counter boxes. We used videos, button widgets, images, and we also incorporated Google Maps into this page. So it's a nice looking page, and you'll learn a lot watching that video on how to use these different elements that come with the page builder. But today I'm going to actually show you kind of step by step what each element is and how to use it. So we're going to go back here to our WordPress dashboard. If you are just signing into your WordPress account, you can go to the plugins tab. So we'll scroll down here and find the one that says plugins. A little drop down menu, we want to click on add new. So I'm going to go ahead and open it in a new tab, and we'll click over to that tab. And then once the plugins page loads, we want to go ahead and type in the words Elementor. Alright, so Elementor, and that's going to pull up the Elementor plugin. Alright, so you're going to see it here with the little E logo, and you're going to go ahead and click install now, and then you're going to click on activate when you are done installing this plugin. Now the plugin comes pretty light out of the box. I will take you back here. You can see the basic widgets you get. You get the intersection, the heading, the image, the text editor, video, button. So I think we used at least these 5, the heading, text editors, buttons, videos, and images. And we also used Google Maps. So we almost used all of these. We also scrolled down to the general section, and I used the counter button or element as well. So you get a good amount just kind of out of the box with Elementor. Now if you want some additional pro features and pro elements, you would have to sign up for the Elementor Pro plugin, which costs, I believe, $30 or $40. I'd have to check into it. In fact, why don't we do that, because that's going to come up as a question that you guys are going to have below in the comments. So we'll just go here to Elementor Pro real quick, and it costs now $50 a year. So they've raised their price, it looks like, a little bit. So $50 a year subscription for one site. If you have multiple sites, it's going to cost more, but you can spread that cost out over multiple sites. Alright, so with that being said, we'll go back here and show you the basics. So again, this is the pro features that you can add on by paying $50 a year. Now what I do is I go back to the add plugins. As soon as I install Elementor, I go next door here to the essential add-ons for Elementor, and I go ahead and install and activate that as well. So this is going to add 40 plus additional elements that are free. Alright, so you're going to get a lot of features that probably are locked up here under the Pro version, and they are now going to be included down here under the Essential Add-ons plugin. So the Essential Add-ons plugin will populate those elements in on its own tab under the Elementor widget dashboard here. So we can see advanced accordion, advanced tabs. We have tables, we have calendar forms, call to action, countdown, data table, events, Facebook. So a lot of things here I'm seeing that we also saw up here under the locked Pro versions. So you might as well just take advantage of using Elementor plus essential add-ons. You're going to get enough widgets that you can build some really snazzy looking pages here. Alright, so with that being said, let's go ahead back here to our dashboard. Once we've installed those plugins, we just want to go ahead and start getting to work on a new page. So I'm going to click add new under pages, open that in a new tab. Now, one more thing to note before we get started. When you're using the Elementor plugin, you're going to have a default theme font style, so the size of fonts, the color of the font, what font it is. That's going to come default with what theme you decided to go with. So if you go under Appearance and you go to Themes, you can choose what theme you want from WordPress. They've got hundreds of different themes. I currently use the Avada theme, and I'm starting to build my pages using the Elementor plugin. I was using Avada's page builder that came with this theme. It was a paid theme that I bought and installed separately onto my WordPress website, but we can also use this little add new theme button here to find new, fresh, free themes that come already in the WordPress database. Now, one of those is the Hello Elementor theme that is actually built by Elementor, and it goes with the Elementor page builder. So you can just type that in, you'll find their theme. You can install and use that theme. A lot of other websites that I've tried in the past and that I see a lot of other YouTubers talk about is the Astra theme. This is a great theme. It's lightweight. It can, work well with the Elementor plugin as well. So you can install this one and get to work customizing the different font settings behind the scenes. Other than that, you're pretty much going to build from scratch these pages. So you're really only using a theme for its, font settings and a couple other settings like maybe the footers and the menu options, how the menu bar looks. But you can also build your own custom menu using Elementor and build your own custom footer using Elementor. So really, you're just kind of picking out what fonts you like with those different themes. But even in Elementor, you can change the font styles. So now we're going to go back to our add new page. We're going to call this just a test demo page. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the Edit with Elementor button right here, which you will see once you've activated the Elementor plugin and it is active. Alright, so when you click on Add New Page, you're going to get by default where it's going to have your normal typical menu bar showing up here. So I can close this out. We can see that it's got my menu, it's got my footer, and then everything else in between is blank. So this is where I would start building my page. However, I'm going to go ahead into the Settings tab here, and I'm going to go ahead to Page Layout, and I'm going to get it rid off default. And I'm actually going to go to Elementor Canvas, and that's going to get rid of the header and the footer, and it's going to give me just a blank website. So we're going to go here, Save Draft, and then I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page if it doesn't already refresh it for me with a blank canvas. Alright, so now we've got this blank canvas where we can start building from scratch. So let's go ahead and go step by step through each of the different elements. Again, if you want to just learn the overview, the quicker version of how to build a WordPress website using Elementor, you can check out one of my previous videos I'll link to around this video. But this is going to go in and out of each element, so it's going to take a little while. I'll have timestamps down below. You can check out which timestamp for different elements if you're only interested in those specific elements and you're trying to figure out how to use them. So first we're going to go ahead and start off with the intersection. So we're going to just create a general full screen one by one. We'll go back to elements, grab our intersection, try to drag it up and drop it in. And so all that's going to do basically is just overlay two interior columns inside of our one general column that we typically have. So it's different than if we would have selected the two column method. Now we have two individual columns, but this is actually two individual columns embedded inside of one column. So it gets a little more going down kind of another level there that you can't get to with just using the normal two column setup. So what it could be good for is, let's say we had been sticking a heading in at the top there. So let's see if I can fit that in. So maybe we had a heading that we had centered. Then maybe we wanted to throw an image up there underneath our heading. And then after our image, maybe we wanted to have a couple text boxes here, and we wanted all that to be in the same exact section. So that's why we would use the intersection element, so that it's all kept together in one section. And then we can save this section as a template by going up here and right clicking and hitting Save as Template. And now that'll create a short code for this entire section that we built out. So we can short code this section into other web pages if you're going to create a lot of similar pages. So for example, my page here on Bradford Shores, I could save this entire page as a template, and then I could just import this page over and over again into new pages and just change out the neighborhood information. I could come up with another neighborhood name with its location and write a description about it, and just kind of swap out all of these different elements with their own relative parts to that neighborhood. So it's a quicker way to just use the same template over and over. Same thing with sections. I could copy certain sections, like I've copied my buttons before. I think I've copied my contact section down here before, and I've just hard coded it as a short code where I made it a template so I could use the same exact contact form area in different pages in the future on my website, and it saves you time from having to rebuild over and over. Alright, so that's one thing you can do there, and that's again a reason why somebody might go with the intersection element, is just to keep everything together in one section so you don't have to go ahead and create a new section with two columns like you would here. So as we click into the intersection element, you're going to see the text here that we can customize, and then you're going to have, you know, some standard font options and different things like that in this natural tool editor. I try to stay away from using this editor for fonts. Instead, I go into the style tab here, and we'll actually use the typography icon, the edit symbol, and we can change the font family from Roboto to, you know, anything else we want. So Roboto condensed. We can change the size of the font here by using the scroll bar, or get a precise number by typing it in, or using the arrow keys to get the exact font size that you would like. So that's how we're going to change the font family, the size. If we want to change how bold it is, we can come here to weight, and we can change it to 700. If we want to make it really bold, we could go all the way up to 900, or we can just keep it normal at 400. If you want to transform the text to, you know, all lowercase, if we want to make it all uppercase, we can do so under the transform tab. If we want to go under style, we can make it italicized, we can add oblique, or we can just go with default. Now line height, we can add spaces between our lines, so you can see the natural spacing right now between the two lines of text. So as we increase line height, it'll go back to a small amount until you start increasing, and then it'll get wider and wider and wider. So this could come in handy if you're, you know, trying to adjust how much text fits in a certain box, or if you feel like you need to widen it more. If it's too cramped, you can do so here. We also have letter spacing. You can widen your letters apart more, or you can cramp them closer together by using the letter spacing feature as well. So that's everything you need to know under the Style tab, in addition to changing the color and the alignment. Next, we can go under the Advanced tab, and this is where we can control our margins and padding. So if one of the columns next door happened to be, you know, an image, and we wanted to offset this text to start lower on the page than the image, you know, we could play with the padding here and the margins. If we leave both of these checked as gray, it'll adjust the top, the right, the bottom, and the left sides of the margin all together at the same time. So we click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it just continues to put everything at the exact amount of margin. So that way we can kind of create this little border around that's even. However, if we wanted to just, you know, maybe only adjust maybe the top margin to try to give a little bit more space, then we could uncheck the link values together button, so now they're unlinked, and we can adjust just the top margin using the up arrow there. So that's another option you can do. Then padding is kind of the same thing. We can, you know, also play with padding. So margin has to do with the margin above and below the section. So this column or this section. Padding has to do with the individual element. So as you can see here, we're adjusting the top padding, and it's continuing to push the text down within the column here. Z-index is if you want to have things, you know, be more forefront. So if you're overlaying a couple items on top of each other, the Z-index will say which order they go. So if we had like a background image we were kind of overlaying underneath this, we might have the text be like a 1 and the background image be a 2, so that we can see the text first above the background image. So Z-index might come in handy if you've got images that are overlapping or elements that are overlapping, and you need to make it so that certain things lay on top of the others. Alright, some of these other things we don't get into a whole lot, but you can use motion effects. So if you want your text to come sliding in, you can do, you know, like a slide in feature, so we can come sliding in from the left, and that can add some flair to your page and make it look a little more fancy. We can go over here as well on this element and go to the Advanced tab, go to the motion effects, and then scroll down and find slide in from the left. So now both of these text boxes will come sliding in from the left when somebody loads the page. Positioning we can leave alone, typically responsive. If you want to change something so it's not shown on desktop or tablet or mobile, you can make things hide on certain devices. So if it's not optimized for mobile, then we can go ahead and hide it so it won't look weird on mobile. We can just show it on desktop only. So overall, that is the text editor breakdown here for this, you know, inner elements element. Now if we go here to heading, which I believe I stuck one up here, we can start looking at those settings next. So it's kind of really similar. We've got our text box here where we can customize the text over here, and we can change it to, you know, the subdivision name. If we want to add a link so that our heading has a link to it, that somebody could click on it and go to a new link, We could put a link in there. Size, we can change sizing here if we want to. We can change the HTML tag that Google's going to look at when they're doing SEO on your website. So H1 tags, H2 tags, H3 tags, these are common for headings. So you want to make sure you have the right tag selected. H1 is typically the title, so at the very top of your page, and then as you scroll down the page, any other headings are typically going to fall under heading 2 or heading 3. We can set alignment. So in this case, we have centered our alignment for our heading. Now we can go into the styling tab, same thing. We can adjust the color. We can go under typography and adjust the font family. We can adjust the size. We can adjust the weight, transform, style, decoration, line height, and spacing. So these are all going to be the exact same settings, again, that we just showed you on the last text editor. This time we can add a text shadow, however, if we want to blur it, if we want to change it horizontally or vertically and have a little bit of a shadow showing behind the text. So that could be a cool feature. And then there's different blend modes as well. Alright, under the advanced tab, you're going to get a lot of the exact same things you're going to get on every element. You can change the margins, you can change the padding and the z-index, and you can add motion effects. So that is our heading tag element. Next, we've got the image, which I've added in here. So image, you just choose an image from your library. It'll open up your library. If you don't have the image you want, you can go to upload files, select it off your computer. We've got the image size here if we want to choose different sizes for it. We can align the image center, left, or right. We can add a caption to our image, and we can make our image link out to something. So if this is a product, like a t-shirt image, we can link it to the actual checkout or the product page for that t-shirt. Under style, we can actually change the width. So if we don't like how big this is, I can shrink it down and make it a certain width on the page. All right, so that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is just leave it 100%. So we'll go ahead and delete this out, and we can actually add in additional columns on the side here that'll help kind of shrink this space down and make this column, go towards the center. So that's one way to do it. But if we're trying to keep everything in one column here and we don't want multiple columns, then we're going to need to use the width function and just drag it, to whatever width we want. So maybe we'll go with 65. That looks about good. All right, we've got max width as well and height. So if we want to play with the height of the image, you can play so here with it. I'm just going to leave it the default height. Opacity, if you want the image to start to kind of blend in with your page, kind of have a faint look to it, you can mess with the opacity there. And again, to get rid of any of these settings, you just delete them out and it goes back to the default setting that it had originally. All right, so that's the style tab you're going to find for images. Now we can go into the advanced and we're going to see all the exact same things again. So we can adjust the margins and padding that are above and below and beside the image here if we're trying to mess with the spacing of the page. And then we can go down here to motion effects. We can mess with positioning, responsiveness, and background. So again, responsiveness, if we want to hide this image on mobile, tablet, or desktop, we can hide this image on certain platforms as well. All right, back here to the element grid. Next, we've got the video element. So let's go ahead and drag it out here. All right, so to edit the video element, we can just click on it, or we can go here to the little pencil icon and click on it as well, and it'll pull up the edit video settings over here. So right now, the source is automatically set to YouTube, and they've put a little fake YouTube URL in that's got this little sky preview. You can also use Vimeo or a self-hosted URL if you're self-hosting your videos. I like to just have a channel that I upload different videos to that are going to go on my website on YouTube, and then I can embed them here using the link that I pull off of YouTube. You can set specific start and end times if you'd like the video to start at a certain point. You can also autoplay it so it starts playing when somebody lands on your page, or you can give people the option to just click on the play button when they see the video when they load your page. You can loop the video so it continues to play over and over again. We can also mute the video if you don't want sound to be playing from the video, you just want the scenes. So if you're using like a background video, you can do so there as well. Image overlay, this is useful if you don't like the thumbnail that the video is showing. You can actually click on this and you can import your own video image that'll show up first. So when somebody first lands on your website, they'll see that image that you picked out. It's basically your thumbnail for the video. And then once they click play, it'll start playing the video as normal. We can go into style here and we can change the aspect ratio of our video. So it's by default 16:9. If you want to change it to something else, you can do so there. and then if you want to choose the play icon color, by default it's this white clear color. We can also adjust the size as well, so we can make it really big and noticeable if you want. Advanced is just going to have margins, padding, z-index again, motion effects, positioning, and responsiveness. So if we want to hide the video again on desktop, tablet, or mobile and not show it on a certain platform, we can do so here. Alright, let's go back again to the grid. Next we've got the button. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with buttons. I'm going to go ahead and drop the button actually in one of these columns underneath the text here. So starting off with type, we have the default. You can change it here. This will just change the color, I believe, initially. So info, they have like a little light blue color. Success is going to be your green. Warning is going to be red or an orangish color. And then danger is actually going to be the reddish one. Alright, text, we can click here to change out the text. So we'll go ahead and just put, download. So if you want to make like a download button where somebody could download a PDF, you can just change the text there to download, and then you can link out that button to your PDF. So you would just copy paste your PDF link from your media file in your dashboard, and you'd paste it in here under link. We can click on link options if we want to open it in a new window. So if they're going to look at a PDF file, you might open it up in a new tab. That way they don't exit out of this page and reload to the new page, which is the PDF. Instead, this page will stay open and it'll open the PDF up in a new page. Again, we can change the size down here, so medium, we can make it large. So we'll go ahead and just leave it medium for now. I like to mess with the alignment and call it justified. That's going to span your button the entire width of the column, so it kind of makes it a little more big and stand out-ish. But if you like the normal original button size, you can just keep it at that and just center it, or align it right, or align it left, depending on your page design. We've also got the icon, if you want to add an icon to your video. So we might add like a download arrow here, click on insert, and it'll add that next to the text. So now it looks like an official download button. Icon spacing, you can adjust the space between the text and the icon. And if you want to give this button an ID, you can do so here. And that's where you can use if you're trying to like have somebody click on the button and maybe it takes them somewhere down the page. Sometimes there's those scroll codes that you can set up using like a button ID function here. Next, let's go under style. We've got the text again. We can update the font, the size, how bold it is, what style it is, line height, letter spacing. So all the normal text settings. We can add a shadow if we want. And then if we want to add a hover feature, so when somebody hovers over the button, right now it does not do anything. We can actually click into the hover settings specifically, and we can change the background color. So maybe now we want the button to be black, and then we want our text color maybe to be white. So now we can hover over it and you'll see it changes black instead of red. So that can be an animated feature that helps, make things pop on your website when people are scrolling their arrow around the page, and it just adds a fancy feature to your site. Now if you want to have an animation as well, you can make it pulse. So we can hover over and now the button will pulse a few times to catch somebody's eye. If you want to give it a border, if you need to add padding to your button, you can also do so here. So this is another way, I believe, to make your button a certain size. So if we wanted to add padding to the top, and then we want to add padding to the bottom of 20, so we can make it equal. And then we can actually extend our right and left padding out wider if we're trying to, make a certain width. So we'll go out to 60, and then I'll just type in 60 here. So that's one way you can adjust the size of your button, in addition to going back to the Content tab and using the Justified. Alright, so that's style. Next we've got advanced, again margin padding if we're trying to clear space or give it space with text and different items that are going to be around our button. We can do so with those features. And then we got motion effects if we want our button to come flying into the page when somebody loads the page. We can do so under motion effects. And then responsive, if we want to hide the button again on a certain page, we can do so there. Alright, let's go back to our grid. Next, we've got the divider element. So let's go ahead and just stick it between the text and the button. So it can start off as a solid line, which sometimes can look good when you're doing web design. Maybe we want to make this, a dividing line that sits above our text here. So let's go ahead and just put it here between the text and the video. There we go. So we've got our divider line that could span across the entire page. We can adjust the width to a certain percentage. So maybe we want 60% width and we center it. So now we've got this line here that's a divider line. So it's solid. By default, we can also change and use all these other styles as well. Now if you don't want a divider line, if you want something that's just spacing things out, there's actually an element for that called spacer. So we could actually just pop that one in instead. And now we can adjust how many pixels of space we need above and below the items that we're spacing out. So the more we adjust this bigger and bigger and bigger, the more space there is. Or we can shrink it down to 30 or 25 pixels or however much we think we're going to need. So another way to add space is using a spacer. But a lot of times for me, when I'm using space, I just use in the actual elements or columns themselves by going into that advanced tab and playing with the padding and with the margins. Alright, next let's talk about Google Maps. So let me throw Maps in here. Alright, so by default, it just takes you to London. So we're going to go ahead and type an address in here. So if we wanted to go to, let's say, Los Angeles, then we could type in Los Angeles and they'll pull up Los Angeles. Now if you want to give it a specific address, like if you're trying to link to your business address, you would obviously type that in here and it'll pinpoint you on the map. And then you can change the zoom level as well. So let's just say I was trying to find a Remax in Los Angeles. Let's see if it knows how to do that. Alright, so I found a bunch of different Remaxes, so maybe we'll click on this one. It's at 556 South Centinela. So let me see if we can just copy that address real quick, punch it in here. Now it's going to find that for us on the map. Alright, so it's pinpointed. So let's just pretend this was our business and it just found us on Google Maps. So it starts us out at a zoom 10 where we can see other cities around us. If we want to get more specific, we could just zoom it in really close. So we just see, those streets right around our business. A lot of times I like to leave Google Maps more zoomed out so that people can look at the map and kind of figure out where you are relative to other cities. Then we can play with the height. So we can start out and make our map only a small little section if we want, or we can blow it up and make it really big if we want to. So now we got this big map that people can check out. So that also is going to play a role in how much you zoom in based on how high you set your map style. Alright, for the styling features, we've got normal, we've got hover, so you can adjust the transition duration, and then the advanced tab again if we need to adjust margins and padding. Lastly, let's get to the icon element, so let's pop that in here. We've got a star icon, so we can add a link to it, we can align it if we want, we can go into style, change the color, the size of it, we can rotate it. So sometimes you might want to use icons next to text boxes to make them look cooler. So that's where you could use the edit icon feature. Alright, so overall, that is how you use the 10 basic widgets that come with Elementor. We went over the intersection, the heading, the image, the text editor, the video, the button, the divider, the spacer, Google Maps, and the icon element. Now in our next video coming soon to the channel, we're going to cover the general elements down here. These are also free widgets that come with the Elementor plugin when you install it. You do not need to purchase the Pro version to get access to these. You can see that the Pro version has a little lock symbol. The free version has nothing in the box. There's no lock symbol. So the general tab has a bunch more elements like image boxes, star ratings, galleries, icon lists, progress bars, counters, testimonials. We've got short codes, we've got menu anchors, HTML code, social icons. So we're going to go over all these different widgets, showing you how to use each of them in part 2 of this video series on how to use the free Elementor plugin. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and stay tuned for when that video drops on my channel. You can also check my playlist if you're coming to this down the road, as I've probably already published it at this point. So if you check the Elementor playlist or the plugin tutorial playlist on my channel, you can find more Elementor videos. Thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys soon. And if you would support this channel by just hitting thumbs up on my videos, that helps tell YouTube you gained value from these videos. Thank you.